Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
So you were talking about what were you
Well, we were
talking
talking about
Alcohol.
we were talking about alcohol and such, and I was going to ask if you've ever had any interesting experiences purchasing alcohol when you were of or maybe not of age.
Well, but whenever I was younger, I worked at a bar when I was 13 um, until I moved out of Texas. So like 13 to 15 or so, I worked at a bar. And so I never had to purchase alcohol. I would go and sweep the liquor room and like throw a bottle of Jack Daniels or something in the dustbin, and then I would take it to the back of the
Oh,
building
that's
and then just throw it out. There was like a hole in the wall at the back of the building, and it like came out the back of the building near where the trash was at. And so then at night, whenever we would take the trash out, the bottle would just be sitting there in this hole, and I'd take it and put it in the car.
that's pretty smooth. Hey, I worked at a party store. I don't know. Party store is a weird term because in Michigan, like they called places party stores that sold like alcohol, but also little. It's basically like a 7-Eleven that sells alcohol, essentially, but not a
Uh-huh.
7-Eleven. But we call them party stores, and it was funny when I moved out to DC, and I was like, "Is there a party store around?" Because that's what we would say to
They
go
send
to
you
for
like the like Party
Oh
City with
yeah,
like
they said
balloons and
yeah,
shit.
exactly. Like Party USA or whatever it is to buy like like not ornaments, like decorations and all that stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's not the fuck I mean by a party store.
That
But
is a weird name for it though. Like for an
and so you
alcohol.
never. I'm curious if your mind has ever heard of a party store before.
I haven't. I don't know if the internet has. Like it's. I guess since I've always lived in states where alcohol sales are regulated by the state, it's always been an ABC store, and it's always very strict. Like whenever I first time I went to a state where the
Well, you
grocery
could buy it at gas stations at my state.
yeah, the first time I went to somewhere like that, or like where it was at the grocery store and stuff, that shit blew my mind. I was like, wait, where the fuck's the ABC store? Like, I thought that was how every state did it, basically.
Nope,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
how every state does it. It's just not, and it shouldn't be. Because it's so convenient when you're going grocery shopping to be able to buy all the alcohol you want.
I
That's why I love
agree.
the fact that my Costco is in DC because Maryland is the same way. It's got like it's all state regulated stuff, and Virginia is the same way for liquor. You have to go to ABC stores to buy liquor.
Oh, does your
Maryland
Costco
is
sell
just
alcohol?
because it's in DC, and so it can sell alcohol, and it sells it at fucking cost. Like it's
I didn't know that you're.
cheap, cheap, cheap,
I didn't
cheap
even think about that.
liquor, beer. Oh, and they have Kirkland brand beer.
Really?
So a microbrew Kirkland brand is actually really freaking delicious. It is amazing.
So
It's
what's weird about that is my Costco doesn't sell beer, but
what's is North Carolina state regulated.
no, grocery stores sell beer all the time. Um,
Really, that's interesting. I wonder if they couldn't get licensed for it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I had never thought about the fact they don't sell. Well, I mean, I guess I didn't think of like buying beer in bulk, anyways. But now that you
Well,
say
it's
that,
not even, but the you buy a 24 pack, so
oh,
define
so it's not
bulk.
that
But
okay.
I
I
mean, it's
imagine
not
like a
like you're buying
fucking
a crate of
yeah, I imagine like a
beer.
flat of beer, basically.
God, that would be wonderful though. Just to buy a crate of beer. Oh, that would be so good. Um, don't make my mouth water anymore. But is so God, I don't even know where we were going with this originally.
Well, it started
But
with strip clubs, and then you said you had a thing.
so I was gonna say when I was younger, so I got a fake ID when I was 17. I
When I
went on
was
a school trip
seven.
to when I was 7, I went on a school trip to Hawaii, and there was this place you could go to get fake IDs in Hawaii, and it was literally like this corner booth that they sat you down, they took your picture, um, eh, they had you pick like street names and stuff from a book if you wanted to make it more realistic to whatever state like
Jesus
that you
Christ, this is like
chose.
a whole like business that's like
Oh,
legit.
this was the business, like, and it was just a booth outside, like,
How
and
did they get
it was
away
funny
with
because
this?
I mean, I don't even know actually, like, and it's funny because it was some guy that came by and was like handing out business cards saying like fake IDs. If you want fake IDs, like bring my business card to this place, they'll give you a discount type of deal.
What the fuck?
And I decided I was going to walk over there. Walked over there with some buddies who some of them didn't want to do it. They were like, "Oh no, that's bad." And I'm like, "Fuck, I'm getting this shit done." I'm 17 years old. I'm in Hawaii. I want to do this. You had the choice between it was like 3 states. I think one of them was like, let's say it was like Florida, Maryland, and Iowa, and Guam. And a lot of people went with Guam because it was nobody's going to know what Guam IDs are supposed to look like because clearly the Florida and Maryland one didn't look anything like the Florida and Maryland like ID. I went with Iowa because I was like, who the fuck in my state's going to know what an Iowa ID looks like?
No, that seems fair.
It literally looked like a, but it wasn't Guam. Nobody's going to be like, Guam?
I feel like you get more question. Like, they look at the white-ass Jeff and be like, Guam, really?
Yeah, exactly. So I went with Iowa, and it looked like it was done so poorly. The back of it was literally talking about how this is a non-driver's ID, and this is what it means to be a non-driver's ID. And the front of it said driver's license.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
If you really paid attention to the thing, it looked like it was like a library card almost. It was like laminated type of deal. It was a little more high quality than that, but that's what it reminded me of. Yeah. Because remember, we're in the time frame where everything has like holograms. Your state ID, I'm sure, has holograms.
Yeah, I just had to get the real ID. I think I told you I was having to do that.
So DC just went to the real ID system a couple of years ago. Prior to that, the DC ID looked alarmingly like this Iowa ID did, and Michigan at the time looked very similar to it in quality wise. So the Michigan IDs back when I first got my Michigan ID literally was it was imagine a piece of paper in between 2 laminated plastic, but harder laminated plastic, and the outside of the front lamination had seals that you were supposed to be able to feel because they were embossed in there. Now it's all a real ID with holograms and stuff, but that is what I was dealing with at the time. So this didn't look that off compared to an ID of the time.
This is wrong down here, by the way.
Something is not right. Remember that water shooting out?
Well, I was complaining about? The thing's not long enough is the problem.
Can we make it longer?
Yeah, basically need to add a row of dirt down here at the end.
Okay.
So how much did this ID cost you?
So I sat down and got my picture taken, and so it was my picture, and then they, set it up with all the information that I wanted to have on there. So I made up my address and my street name and my county and all that stuff, though I chose a county out of this book that was from Iowa. They gave me 3 copies of an ID in case they got stolen or in case confiscated.
Wow.
$30.
Wow.
And the lady that ran this booth was like this Asian lady, and she took one of the IDs, put it on the floor, took a chair, and started smashing it with the leg of a chair. She said because it makes it look old and used.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the logic here.
Less likely to get confiscated. I was like, this is the greatest place I've ever been to in my entire life.
That is so wild.
$30. And when I walked away, the one stipulation they had was do not try to use it on the island. Because clearly, obviously, everybody in the island. I almost tried to use it on the island because I thought that nobody would really care. I'm glad I didn't because I was young and naive. And it was, I'm sure, the island knows about this business and knows that these fake IDs
they'll probably look at you immediately like, get the fuck out of here. We know you got this from Joe down the street.
So I had this ID, and it was funny because my sister's ex-husband looked at the time enough like me that he could pass for a picture on an ID as me. So when he was underage, I was also underage. He was older than I was. I gave him one of the copies of it, and he used it constantly to buy alcohol. Wow. And I would get turned down at random places, and I would call him up and be like, "Can you go buy me alcohol with my ID?" It was part of the stipulations. If I can't do it, if you get this ID, you got to be at my beck and call. They would look at it. Nobody ever confiscated it, but they would look at it and say, this doesn't look real. I'm not going to sell you alcohol. I had that a few times. I had one guy, he literally took the ID, he looked at it, he looked at me, because, you know, you can book check IDs, and everybody says they're going to go book check something, and I'll tell you, nobody ever fucking book check something, which is really strange. So I went to a restaurant once, and they were like, I don't know about this ID. I've never seen one from Iowa before. We're going to have to go book check this ID. And I just literally sat there because I know it doesn't look anything like what a real Iowa ID at the time looked like. Like it had a red background and Iowa IDs had like a blue background or something. I looked it up online to find out. So I knew it looked nothing like a real Iowa ID. And I just kept my calm at this restaurant I was at. And it was like a pool hall. And I ordered a beer and he was like, you know, I ordered a pitcher of beer for my buddies and I. And it's like, oh, no, this doesn't look right. We're going to have to confiscate it or we're going to have to go book check it. And I was just like, oh, yeah, no problem. And I just sat there and kept my calm. And like 5 minutes later, he shows up with the beer and my ID. And I was like, oh, I take it everything was fine. And he was like, yeah, sorry about that. You know, we just have to make sure. I'm like, yeah, no problem. Like, of course,
of course you do, buddy.
Of course, make sure people are of age. Don't want those underage people drinking under you know.
Kids are doing anything these days.
But the closest I had to getting it, quote unquote, taken, and it was funny, is the guy. I gave him the ID, and it was at a liquor store, and I had a bunch of liquor on the table, and I just like put the ID up there, and I was probably really nervous because it was one of the first times I did it too. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't like confident and like did it, and I was just like, oh, yeah, like you want to see my ID? Oh, okay, like I look so young to you, you know, type of deal. And I gave him the ID, and he like literally grabbed it, and you could just see his face, like, oh, like this is clearly fake. You could. The expression on his face. Mm-hmm. And he just took it. He held it to his chest and he got a pen and he put a piece of paper and he slid it in front of me and he goes, write down your date of birth and sign this.
Oh, shit. Did you memorize the date of birth on the
Yeah. The date of birth, I made my date of birth and what made me 21 at the time. So it was like my exact date of birth, but the year was... as opposed to 1981, I can't remember if it was 1977 or 78 or whatever it was at the time.
Right.
Because I had gotten all the information on there, so it was also my signature was what was on the ID. So I was like, okay, and I just did that, and he like looked at them both, and he goes, "Oh, sorry, you know, I thought it looked fake for a minute. I just needed to make sure."
Yeah, you fucking idiot.
So then what I started doing is I would throw my ID up with my college ID because I always went to a Michigan college, and when I was in Michigan, I would throw it up with my college ID, and people would literally look at me like I was an idiot when they asked me for an ID, and there was a college ID in front of them. But I was like, no. I was like, there's my ID and there's my college ID. I said, most people apparently in this state have never seen an Iowa ID before, so people constantly question what I'm doing and think it's fake. And when I did that, they immediately were like, "Oh, okay," and they just didn't question it. I didn't think they were bad. They wouldn't question it anymore because
we don't have to sleep.
You know, this guy's just, you know. Did you take the bed from right here?
I did. I moved it down here so it wouldn't be.
So I have to go all the way up top.
No, don't worry about it. I'm out of bed. I'm not even in bed anymore.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna go to the nether and repair my hoe. Actually.
Well then, you gonna take the other?
Yeah, I will.
Items with you. Yeah. Where are you getting? I guess I need to go through and just harvest a bunch of this wheat.
Yeah, use a fortune pick and you'll get way more seeds. And everyone that keeps commenting in my videos saying use a fortune pick, motherfuckers, I've been using a fortune pick. I talk about it. Stop talking about
it. But it's funny because where this actually came up, like when we started talking earlier in the episode, was not about fake IDs. It kind of has to do with fake IDs. I was going to ask if you'd ever had experiences of having problems buying alcohol, because when I was actually, I still use my fake ID for this, but my girlfriend at the time was 21. We went up to my parents' cabin, and there was probably 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Okay, there was probably 15 people at a house. And there was like 2 of the people that were 21, but we sent them out to, you know, go get alcohol. But a bunch of us went together to go get the alcohol. So we just stayed in the car while the of age people went inside to go purchase the alcohol.
Right.
And the cashier at one of the places refused to sell at first to them because they said, we saw a car full of people that were possibly minors and we cannot sell to you because you might be buying for underage people. And so we all went out of the car and went inside, or I think I think it was one person that was 21 went inside. The other person that was 21 and myself were the only ones that had gone. And so I went in with my fake ID and slapped it on the table. And I was like, don't refuse sales to her because you think outside that I'm 21, and this other person that was 21 came and showed their ID. So we were able to buy alcohol. But I was like, I was also probably drunk at the time because it was, we were getting more alcohol. And I was being just a dick. But, that's the way it is. And I was curious because we talked about, we were joking around about your daughter going to a strip club with us, being, too young to go to a strip club. Isn't it interesting that you're not allowed as a cashier, you can't sell alcohol to somebody who's 21 if they're with people who are under 21?
That is weird. Yeah, that they ID everyone.
But what about parents with children when you're like grocery shopping? I bought alcohol numerous times with my kids with me, and nobody's ever questioned it, as they shouldn't. Isn't that technically?
Well, I mean, even the liquor stores around here say if you have anyone in your party that is 17, 18, 19, or 20, that we will refuse sell, and they can't enter. It says both those things. So I think if you were with a kid that was like that age, you might have a little bit of a trouble compared to.
You think? But what about like a 7-year-old though?
Obviously, you're not buying alcohol for the 7-year-old.
But you can't say it like that though, because what's the difference between a 7 and a 17-year-old based on that rule and regulation?
Well, I mean, 10 years. That's the difference.
You are correct. Yeah. You are good at maths.
I mean, 7-year-olds aren't even asking for alcohol. 17-year-olds are constantly wanting to be the ones.
But does it change the fact that if you walked into a liquor store with a 17-year-old, should they sell to you?
Sorry, 17. I mean, no, they're not supposed to.
You walked into a liquor store with a 7-year-old. Should they sell to you?
Yeah.
Who's to make that determination? Is something in the law say a 7-year-old is different than a 17-year-old in the sale of alcohol?
Yeah.
Something in the law says that that's different?
Yeah. What the fuck happened in the nether? The shit is not the same.
What do you mean?
The shit is not the same. Those are the words I used. And they were accurate.
I don't know what shit is not the same. Is it like liquidy?
The shit is not the same. The Mexican
food last night?
The whey is not the same. It's gone. The whey is gone. What is this?
Did you? I just went to Chunk City the other day, and the whey was definitely the same.
No, because I've passed the same fucking sign before that says like some idiot named Dyer or whatever. This is definitely the way.
I think you're way too far.
No,
you're way too far.
No,
yes, you are. Yeah, yes. Yes.
This is. I am in the right place.
Nope. Idiot named Dyer is way past where.
No, it's not. It's always the same. Zisto. This is the hallway that has always been the hallway that goes to the XP farm. Did one of these signs say XP farm? I just didn't read it correctly.
Now you're making me question. I don't know. I'm coming.
This is OMG Chad. I mean, well, that's OMG Chad, but this is
you're
OMG Chad.
Way
no, this is all the same. This is the right fucking place, you motherfucker.
Yo, I was just at Chad's house, right?
This is the place. Go to Gold Farm.
God,
This is not
the place.
It's not a gold farm though. Did he rename
it? It is. You do have to go toward the gold farm though. It is a gold farm. Zombie pigmen are a gold farm.
No, it's not. No, that's dumb. And yes, this is the place, Jeff. You were very wrong. But
no, did you find it or something?
I did.
I'm gonna come in there. You are incorrect. Oh my god, I can't believe it. I'm looking at my bracket as well. A team that was just winning by 25 points is now down. That's not good for me. Hold on.
But this is the place.
Are you at the gold farm?
Mm-hmm.
right now?
It's an XP farm.
Coming in.
Whoever calls it a gold farm is an idiot.
I'm coming in to find out. It's only like 2 corridors down, and it's like the first.
It's the first corridor on the right, basically.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
want to know where this.
It's always
so
the
what
same,
did you
but
do?
someone changed some shit. It's been changed. Somebody fucked it up,
Oh.
ruined it.
I'm gonna see what's been changed. I'm gonna see if you're right. I'm in the nether. I'm coming down to the second corridor. Coming. And I went way past it. Go back. Should be right down here.
It's the same place. Just the signs have been moved and someone's started building stuff.
Down some stairs.
People are saying it's right.
I actually agree with you now. Shit is different. Shit is not the same.
See?
Shit not the same. Wow, this is kind of weird. Like, you didn't used to have to go to some jerk named Dyer.
No, you don't. You still don't have to do that, but you always passed it.
No, I don't think you did. It was way closer to the entrance.
Do you remember?
It was way closer to the entrance, and it was a ladder that went straight up.
And it still is. Did you go down towards Dyer's way to get here?
No.
Good, because you don't have to.
This is like. So where do you go now to get there?
The gold farm. It's still the same. You still go up that giant ladder. But I think he changed the sign from saying gold farm to from XP farm to gold farm. Oh, and I guess you coming to the nether also stopped all the spawns.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that. Okay, I got to the ladder that tells you where to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems different to me too, but now I can't put my finger on it because now it does seem like it's the same. Maybe I'm just...
No, it's different. The signs are different. The signs have changed. They used to say XP farm and now they say gold farm.
Oh, no. People can look at our old episodes. But either way, so you really think that they should refuse to you if you're with a 10-year-old, not if you're with a 7-year-old?
Yeah. That's what the law says.
And do you think there's a law that allows that to happen?
Yeah. Like my liquor store, there is a sign on the door that literally says, NC State article, blah, 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 blah. Anyone age 17, 18, 19, or 20 in your presence we will refuse alcohol sales. And like it lists,
what about
it lists the statute. And 16s are fine.
So 16's okay in your state?
Yeah. Not to buy alcohol, but they can be in your presence while you buy it.
That's interesting because I don't know of such a statute, but I've never really looked it up here. But I've never seen it posted that specifically 17-year-olds to 20-year-olds were ever listed outside of any liquor store I've gone to compared to.
Right.
That's actually what I was going to bring up is why it's illegal for and 7-year-olds and not 17-year-olds.
I mean, this is common sense, Jeff. Come on now.
No, so I agree with you from a perspective of common sense, yes, but from a perspective of the law, I was going to talk about, which is weird because apparently your state has a law that refutes what I'm saying.
Oh, I see. I imagine every state does. I imagine every state has laws based on the ages and alcohol sales and like who can be around and that sort of thing and how it's handled. How old you have to look, blah, 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 blah.
You think a 7-year-old should be able to go into a strip club with their parents?
Absolutely not. Is there a law that prevents that, though?
I mean, there's certain establishments. It's probably like the establishment of so I guess that's kind of interesting because there are statutes that limit anybody from under the age of 21 being allowed in bars and those type of scenes after a certain time. And I'm sure that there's like statutes that stop from not just a bar but a strip club in all times. I would hope that it's not that you're just not allowed in a strip club after 9 p.m. that it's right. All times that you're not allowed in a strip club. But it makes me wonder, does that fall under the same whatever statute that you're talking about? Is it actually like only 17-year-olds and up aren't allowed in those places. That if you're 16 or under, you're allowed in with your parents.
Do they have a daycare at the strip clubs?
Oh, God, you know what? They'd probably make a killing. What? This is a business, Guude. Let's do
No,
this.
I don't want to be in the business of
No, we're not in the strip club business.
Stripping childcare.
No, we are in the strictly childcare business. We just happen to be located at strip clubs.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
You
I don't want to be known as
that?
the stripper daycare.
I mean, as long as people pay, right? Does it matter?
Oh, Jesus! You know how many ones you get paid in?
Are ones still currency?
I mean, they are, but
Think I care? You can pay me in fucking Bitcoin. I don't give a shit. As long as it's money at the time, I can convert it to whatever I want to at the end of the day.
God. What a mess. God, what was I gonna say? You wiped my mind. Don't remember.
Thinking of too many strippers? I don't know.
How do you feel about going to Hooters with children?
So it's interesting because Hooters is really a family establishment, and
Is it?
so I've been to Hooters numerous times in my lifetime, and I used to think it was this like taboo, like this is a great thing. I can go to Hooters finally, type of deal. I don't think it's very like risque or sexy at all. I actually prefer Buffalo Wild Wings, which is funny. Like, who would say like I prefer the non like scantily clad dressed women, but it's because I enjoy that food and beer selection a little bit better. Granted, it's a chain and I haven't gone to one in a long time, and Buffalo
I don't
Wild Wings
understand
last time I
how
went to was
Hooters
really,
is still in
like,
business in this day and age, honestly.
well, and the thing is, in this day and age, I think they are so much more of a family type of establishment that
are they still basing their hiring on your breast size?
So there was always rumors that they did that. I'm not sure how true that was back in the day, but I would bet that even if it was true back in the day, that is not the truth now. I don't think they can get away with that now, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying, but I feel like, I mean, that's their whole business model. Like, you going in there, that's what people go in expecting, right?
Sort of. When was the last time you went to a Hooters?
I've never been to a Hooters, actually.
Oh, I've been to plenty, and I will tell you that all the waitresses are not like attractive C cups. There's some pretty standard non-attractive flat chested waitresses at Hooters. Like the last time I was there. So
This just in, Jeff determines attractiveness based on breast size.
Yep. Attractiveness completely based on breast size. Had that same person had C cups, she would have been the hottest chick I ever met in my entire life. The way I roll.
Isn't the food pretty awful though? Like, isn't it like a Chili's style?
So, well, it's interesting. So you say that. In my opinion, chain restaurants have really gone downhill in the past 10 years, where even a chain restaurant could have decent quality / tasting food. And I used to really like Chili's.
Really?
I used to love Outback was like luxury like food.
I remember when Outback was good. Like, no one will know that now if they just went there for the first time. But there was really a time when Outback was good.
And I think that problem has hit all of the chain industries.
I agree.
Chili's, TGI Fridays, all that stuff. Hooters, whereas they might have had good wings back in the day, any person eating Hooters wings now would probably be like, these are like the cheapest, chintziest, crappiest wings I've ever had. And it might not be it might not show you what they had back then. I remember both Hooters and Buffalo Wild Wings having decent wings. I actually really liked Buffalo Wild Wings. That's why I like B-dubs better than Hooters for a while. I thought they had phenomenal quality wings. The last time I was at a B-dubs, it was not.
Yeah, I've only been there once, and I was like, how is this place in business? Basically, was my thought.
Yeah, it was really. They were like small, and they were like old, but it seemed like that was just what they were going for, type of deal. Like, it was bad. But I just think that chain restaurants in general have gone downhill, like significantly. So I want to tell you that Hooters used to have good wings back in the day, but I don't know if I was blind to what good food was back then, or if it's really that they've changed that much. I have no idea.
Yeah, I've often wondered that if that is it. Like, have I changed or has all? But I feel like all chains have just gotten worse as time goes on. I mean, even things like fast food. I remember as a kid, like going to like Arby's and like they had like their potato wedges. It was like someone was back there cutting actual potatoes and making potato wedges, as opposed to these like bags of frozen potato wedges that they serve now. So like,
I agree with you. I mean, I worked at McDonald's for a very long time and super high, quality stuff. But I feel like some of their chicken, their salads and stuff were pretty high quality when I was there. And I've recently gone to McDonald's a couple times because I've had to go up to our corporate office and I was stopping to get some like food in the morning and the afternoon because I didn't have time to do anything else. And that was so what you would typically think about as like the shitty fast food restaurant type of food. And I was like, this is not what I remember serving when I worked there for 9 years.
right.
I don't know, was I blind to it back then? I also didn't have an expanded palate back in the day when I grew up in Michigan and all. I really didn't know that there was any better at the time. Like, I don't know. It's weird. I'm not like a foodie by any stretch of the imagination, but I do enjoy good food.
Right. Man, we ate at Morimoto. I think I probably told you this. It was good though. It was expensive, but it was so good.
Oh, I ate at Morimoto last year, and it was definitely a very delicious ramen. Very expensive, but very delicious ramen.
Yeah, it's definitely it's every bit of it's overpriced, but it's also not like you don't get your food and then be like, man, I can't believe I spent this much, because it is actually good.
No, it's definitely good food. But I will tell you, fast food kind of reminds me of like the food in the middle of the Disney park.
Oh yeah, Disney park food is awful. Like they don't. I mean, there on occasion there is good food in Disney parks, but you have to go looking for. For the most part, the majority of their food is awful.
And the majority of food that's available to the average person,
right?
Not the I paid $500 a plate to go eat in Cinderella's castle.
It wasn't that much. It was only like 80 a plate, but still, it was expensive.
Did you really eat in Cinderella's castle?
Yeah, not this year. But 2 years ago we did. It's the first time there's ever been availability. But it was at like 10:30 at night. And so my daughter was like dying to stay awake, but she did it, and we did it, and she had fun.
$80 a plate? That's not.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that bad. There's only like.
That doesn't seem like that much for.
They only have like room for like 12 families, something like that, 15 families. It's not a lot. That's why it's always so booked.
Interesting. Did you guys get a Twitch dinner?
No, they didn't do one this year.
So I didn't miss out that much.
No. Last year, the place we had for the Twitch dinner wasn't great, though.
It wasn't great, but it was
place.
like, it was free, and it was lots of alcohol coming in.
There was lots
and
of
I
alcohol.
remember out of nowhere, like, wondering how Jack was going to last, and he somehow like went to sleep in his rinky-dink little stroller that was there and slept the entire time, which was amazing.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember thinking
There
you
for
guys
like
were just
2
gonna have to
hours
leave or something. Yeah,
he just like slept the whole time, and I was like, oh my god, like he knows I'm getting like this free alcohol I wouldn't otherwise get, because he's just like, do it, daddy, I'll be sleeping right here.
I'll do it for you, Daddy. All right. Well, with that, we got to go, guys. Hope you've enjoyed today's episode.
All right, guys.
Subscribe to the podcast if you want to hear it on your phone.
Subscribe, podcast, Guano podcast.
Bye.
Bye.